Hello everyone to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I'm your host Max Kellerhalls, and with me today we have
Maya.
Yan.
It's another Star Wars episode. That's why Maya is here. And today we're going to be talking about
Damn.
Andor. Or Andor, depending on how you want to call it. Cassian Andor. Yeah, the Andor is a story about the Rogue One character, Cassian Andor, 5 years before Rogue One, where he's still kind of like doing shady deals day by day, looking for his sister. And this is basically the story about how he gets entangled in with the rebellion. This is like early days rebellion, so like there's barely anyone really doing anything. There's no rebel alliance. The show is split up into like different arcs, kind of like how the TV show Clone Wars did it. Unlike Clone Wars, this does have an ongoing story throughout the season. However, it is split up into like different chapters of his life, at least this 1 year of his life. And yeah, I think I'm just going to say this may be my favorite Star Wars project in a long time. I mean, I love Mandalorian, but there's something really just unique and special about this show that just like struck a chord with me, and just how impressed I was by just the quality of the performances, the writing, the sets, just the world that they expanded upon in this was just so cool to me. And like every week I was just really excited to see another episode of Andor. That's my initial thoughts on the show. We'll get into more of like what we really liked, but I kind of want to get like your general thoughts before we go into any more deep stuff,
I know,
like spoilers.
You kind of said pretty much what I was going to say. The writing was incredible, and I really liked some of the themes they had, which we will also get into later.
We will. But yeah, I think what we can do first is, since we both talked about like the performances, I kind of want to just go through like different cast members. Like I want to say like one criticism or complaint I've heard about the show that I kind of just don't agree with is that like the main character Cassian is kind of he's a bit of a passive character, and like shit just happens to him and he's just reacting to everything around him. He's kind of like being pushed into different directions in his life, not really taking advantage of stuff for himself. But I didn't mind that personally, because like sometimes in life shit just happens to you and you just kind of deal the cards that you're dealt.
Yeah, and I think also like when he starts to like find like what he like his purpose, I guess it's gonna be even more like, because like in the earlier episodes, right, he was like, oh, I don't really want to be like involved in all this and stuff.
He doesn't.
So he didn't really have any like rebel against the Empire yet.
I mean, he doesn't like.
He doesn't like them, but he didn't have like.
He just kind of like, this is what I'm
this
dealt,
is what it is,
and this is how I'm gonna like. I'm just gonna live how I'm gonna want.
Which is also okay. So I will fill out the comparative politics a bit. We were talking about this in class the other day, and it was like, it's like in authoritarian regimes, it's so hard for like rebellions to like start because everyone is so like isolated. I think there's a quote in the book, and I don't have it on me, but it was something like a friend called his buddy on the phone, and he was like, this regime is like so bad, we really should do something about it. And his friend goes, they're probably listening to this, right? Just like how...
It's funny you say that, because there's a quote later in the show where they directly kind of like call that out. Like, they don't care.
Yeah.
As long as they keep the numbers rolling and things going, they don't care. Like, no one's listening to you, so...
Right.
I find it interesting that that's...
Yeah. So I was able to put Robert's class into this.
Hi, Robert. If you're not listening to this. Actually...
What if I just show it to him and be like, hey, Robert, I applied your class to Star
Andor.
Wars. I hope you're
Andor.
proud. I hope you're proud.
But yeah, I just love going back to like Cassian himself. It's really gave a chance for Diego Luna to like shine and like really kind of like flesh his character out, because in Rogue One, he is one of my favorite characters in Rogue One, just because like the first time you meet him, his character stands out amongst the rest because of like, oh no, he will do anything for the rebellion. And, like the first time we meet him, he shoots a guy in the back to like make sure that the information doesn't get out. Like, it was the first time you really got to see that the rebels, who we've always seen as these like white knights and like good guys, aren't really that. They're like really like, they will do anything. They are like rats, and that they'll just scurry and find anything to win. For a Disney show, he doesn't fuck around. He's just like, if if you're gonna fuck me over, I'm gonna kill you.
I'm surprised they got away with what they did.
The first moment in the show where like the guy's literally begging on his knees, and he shoots him in the head.
And he's like, it's like,
Yeah, I was like, whoa! But I was like, he's gonna do it because like the first time we meet him, he just does it.
Right.
Like, there's nothing to say.
Okay, you already knew that was like a part of like him.
Part of the character.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I don't know. I really like that we get to really flesh out this character more, and it also really, it really makes Rogue One a very interesting watch now. About like
I should rewatch it now that I've seen
too.
Andor. I mean, we saw it like before.
It's gonna be like a series finale technically now.
Right.
Like you can look at it as like that, like a really big budget series finale. We're gonna move on to the other character real quick that I like that there's a character like this in Star Wars because you don't really get a lot of like weird characters like this. Kyle Soller as Cyril Karn, aka Simp.
Yeah.
Dude. At first I was like, this character's really interesting because like in the first 3 episodes he's like that hotshot who wants to like rise in ranks and like takes his job way too seriously.
Yeah.
But you see how that really affects him when he loses his job and he has to go basically for like a good rest of the season. It's just him with his tail between his legs just trying to like find a way to get back into some position of power, and like he's like so into this idea of like the Empire. It kind of goes into like this idea of like how certain beliefs will like turn people into these like really weird and creepy men, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the reason why we call him the Simp is because of another character.
God.
I just really like the performance of the guy too, because like at first, he comes off as like this really tough guy, but he has this one time, like in the 3rd episode, he tries to give this speech to his men, and it's like, you know how even in this show, there's some amazing speeches. This one is intentionally bad because he just does not have confidence.
Yeah.
So he's just like, I hope you all do a good job, and
yeah, I was like, that's so embarrassing for you.
And then just the way his like second in command has to like tell people, like he starts clapping to make sure that everybody else has to clap, get the idea. I thought that was really funny.
That man has the most fragile ego.
Oh yeah.
It's so bad.
So
like
fragile.
Immediate no.
Okay, speaking of different characters with an ego, I'll say, Luthen. There's so many characters in the show that can be said as like my favorite character. This guy, however, he stands out because I just love how like he's just so real.
Right.
Some of my favorite moments have to do with Luthen. I think the one that a lot of people immediately go to, that one monologue he has to the ISB agent. It's the moment where he's the guy's on the elevator, he's going up, and he has that one speech where he's just like saying to him, "What are you sacrificing?"
Right.
Oh, by the way, there's spoilers in this, sorry. There's a moment where he's talking to a particular ISB agent, and he's telling him like, the guy asks him like, "Well, what do you sacrifice? I got all this on the line. What do you sacrifice?" He got nothing. He's like, "Sit down." Everybody else is going to like reap the benefits of what I have to sacrifice. I will never be able to see this perfect world that I want to help set up or like give everybody. And like, just the way he just like slowly like starts to get more angry, and then just like, what do I sacrifice? Everything.
Yeah.
So cool. His ship is awesome too.
Yeah.
That ship is. It's
fire.
It really is, because it's like the Millennium Falcon if the Millennium Falcon wasn't a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Really,
fair.
It is. It's
That's
like
fair.
everything works. It's got its own little personalized AI. It has fucking lightsabers on the end of it. It's just cool to see Han Solo with money.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think you're gonna want to talk about this character. Another like huge member of like the Rebels, Mon Mothma.
Okay, mostly
played by Genevieve O'Reilly. Go on.
Okay, so mostly because like she has like awesome fashion taste, and like her house is really awesome too. Sorry, no, but she's a great character. But also
her house looks awesome. It's not awesome.
It's not, but like also, that house is like the aesthetic that I want. No, they did a great job with her character. And also,
go on.
Her outfits are so good. I'm like obsessed. Like, actually, there's like, I love like the cut of them and just how.
Hey, Roberg.
Shut up.
But going into the character, and not what she wears. I liked how they fleshed out Mon Mothma.
Mhm.
I didn't know she had a family.
No, me neither.
Like, I don't think any other material and any of the other
Mhm.
things that had Mon Mothma in it, never once did she bring up the fact that she had a daughter or a husband.
Yeah. Speaking of her husband, I want to push him off one of the balconies they've got into Coruscant traffic.
I don't know how I feel about the husband. Because here's the thing.
Like, I get it, but, like, he's also kind of useless.
Just like how they world build the Star Wars
Mhm.
universe out more, like you find out that whatever culture Mon Mothma comes from,
Right.
they believe in arranged marriage.
Right.
So you kind of get this idea of like that she would have preferred to have married her childhood friend, the banker, like the guy with the really white hair.
Oh, he was also in The Crown, by the way.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
cool.
played Peter Townsend, who was Princess Margaret's lover, but then he dumped her after a tour overseas, which is a really asshole move. After promising to marry her, by the way.
I don't know how to move on from that, but yeah, I just thought that like, not only does she have to like fight this ongoing battle of like keeping this image of like, as she puts herself, the irritation in the Emperor's like Senate, and like, oh yeah, I only want them to think of me as an irritation,
Right.
so that they don't notice what I'm really doing,
Yeah.
which is using her family's wealth to
Mhm.
fund the rebellion, but
Mhm.
somehow a Star Wars show suddenly becomes like a financial thriller.
Yeah.
The scariest thing Mon Mothma has to worry about isn't a stormtrooper or Darth Vader, it's the auditors. They just cracked me up. I was like, wow. But yeah, like her home life, like I like the idea that because she's not really giving the attention to her family,
Mhm.
her daughter is
Yeah.
starting to rebel in her own little way
Right.
about like, because Mon Mothma is not really for like the customs of her culture,
Right.
but her daughter is like, I'm only doing this to like kind of piss my parents off, and like I just believe in this. So like she's like, yeah, I'm down for this arranged marriage thing. The husband's a pill. He's just
God, I want to just.
yeah. I mean, I really liked everything with Mon Mothma. I'm just curious to see where this all goes.
Right. And hope her husband falls into Coruscant traffic. While he's
Well,
at it.
actually, that's a good question. Like, where do you see that going? Because like we don't see them that much in the later and anything else.
Right. I don't know.
I think either she leaves the family
Right.
and just has to like sacrifice her home life.
Right. Or alternatively, he could take the daughter and just like dip. It'd be like you know, because you saw them like not throwing hands, arguing in the back of their car, and he's just like, I can't do this anymore, and takes the kid and leaves.
Well, no. Okay, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but like that last scene where you see the two of them.
Yeah.
How did you read that scene? Because I read it. It took me a second viewing to read it again.
Right.
And that like I'll say what I thought.
Okay. Yeah. You say what you thought, then.
But
and then I'll. Give
what
you
I thought is that she was like, "You're gambling again," like gaslighting him. Like she was trying to gaslight. Yes, because the idea is.
Right, because.
If the driver was listening in, so by saying like, "Oh yeah, you're using our money to go gamble," so when the Empire goes looking at her bank accounts,
right, they're not as it's not as sus.
They now know like, oh, it's probably her husband, and like that's where she's getting this money, and now that she's gonna be married off to a banker, like another like scummy banker with that other guy, now they can also be like, oh, that's why she's marrying her kid off to that family, so that she can cover this up. So they're not really like, it's just banking things. It's not legal, but at least it's not like rebellious activity.
Right.
So she's trying to like gaslight him, and also everybody else around him.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. As she should. Just kidding. Just kidding. Don't gaslight your husbands, partners, etc. Wives. Don't do that.
Okay, I think we brought this character a bit earlier, but Dedra, played by Denise Gough. Never seen this actress before, but now I want to see her in more things. Dedra.
She did a really good job.
I really liked her. Like, at first, it's like this thing of like, oh, yeah, fight the system, fight the patriarchy. But then when you're like realizing, oh, no, she's still a huge fascist.
Yeah.
And like, because at first, yeah, she's like trying to rise up in ranks and like get noticed in the ISB.
Mm-hmm.
However, when she does, it's not good because like she is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, the way she, like, just stares at people, like, her eyes are creepy, man.
Yeah.
She did a good job.
She did a great job.
I don't know. I have a theory that, like, and it's a really out there theory, and it's only based off, like, one thing about her hair. I think she...
So now you want to talk fashion, huh? No, I'm kidding. I'm
Fuck
kidding.
off. It has to deal with the story.
Uh-huh.
Because...
So does Mon Mothma's.
Fuck off. Because... Alright, I'll get off my one negative right now. I will say that the one thing I did not like about this first season is that they introduced looking for the sister plotline early as, like, a setup.
Right.
And then they just kind of drop it at a point.
Yeah.
I get why. However, I don't like it when they just kind of set something up as, like, a mystery just for the second season and never really address it.
Right.
So, I thought, just to, like, really just go out there, and my theory is most likely wrong, because this is only based off the fact that maybe this character bleaches her hair. I honestly thought Dedra might be his sister. Because the idea is that she could have been, like, taken off that planet and raised by someone who has had particularly more of a British upkeeping, because she could have been young enough to, like, pick up an accent.
Right.
But Cassian was a little older when he was picked up, so he still had his, in this world, Canarian, which is kind of just Hispanic.
When do a kid's accent, like, when does that, like, solidify? Hold on.
I don't know, but, like, I think, I don't know, I feel like it's just a really interesting theory, because, like, I noticed, like, in the couple episodes, like, if you look at her, the roots of her hair, she's got, like, black, or, like, really dark brunette.
Yeah, I think the whole movie, I was like, sis needs her roots done. Or not the whole movie, the whole series. I was like, sis, you need to get your roots done. I feel
like in a show like this, in that everything is so meticulously, like...
Okay, accents become permanent around the age of 12 years.
Oh, then yeah.
That being said, it's possible for accents to change over time or for adults to develop a subtle accent after living in a foreign country for an extended period of time or watching too much British television.
The whole weird relationship that her and Karn have is probably the most, like, oh, that's where they're going with this? Like, I can totally get why he is just infatuated with someone that is, like, fully dedicated to the Empire.
Right.
And, like, in a higher position than him.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be like, thanks, and then
like
I'd be like,
both of those characters are so weird that they're perfect for each other.
Yeah, no, I saw so many posts like that. It's like that one, like, couple in, like, high school that's just, like, so horrible for each other that they just work.
Like, they're just two tornadoes coming together. They're just gonna fuck shit up.
See, I would have gotten a restraining order on that guy second. Like,
do you really think
that
the
one
Empire has
scene,
a restraining order?
That one scene where he comes up to her, like, he's, like, been waiting for her. I would have been like, restraining order, you're done.
I feel like the Empire...
Or I would have shot him on the spot, so,
yeah,
you know.
probably that. They probably just, like...
They'd probably be like, oh, there goes another civilian. Anyway.
Bro, they're like Nazis. They don't do restraining orders. They just shoot you.
Yeah, I would have probably been like, you're done.
You're done. Alright, we're going to move on to another really cool character, Bix. It's just interesting to, like, have a character that's not, like, the typical girlfriend. Because at the beginning of the show, she's his ex.
Right.
But she's in a good relationship with another guy until,
yeah.
He kind of, like, screws everybody over.
Yeah, and then screws himself over.
Yeah. This actress probably did some of my favorite acting of this entire season because she gets captured at one point and has to go through one of the most horrifying torture ideas that I've ever heard in sci-fi, where it's just like they put a device up to your ears that's just recordings of like an entire race dying, or not just an entire race, screaming children. Oh,
Anakin would have liked it though.
I think I now know who came up with the idea.
That's probably what he listens to like go to bed at night.
Oh God! All right, moving on. The actress's name is Adria Arjona. Adria.
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
Telling.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm trying to give credit. Alright, I'm gonna just move past. I like the character of Brasso, the big burly guy from Ferrix. He was pretty cool. He did have a really funny moment for me at the end of the season, I should say. Marva, Andor's mom.
Yeah.
Did you know that that's Harry Potter's aunt?
Yes.
Did you know that before?
Yeah.
I didn't. I was like,
I think she looked familiar, and then it clicked. Yeah.
And then when I was like, oh yeah, it's Harry Potter's aunt, I was like, no way.
Sis has range.
Yeah. I was shocked by like. Because, like, oh, I actually like her in something for once. Because I hated her in Harry Potter.
I've got mixed feelings about her.
But yeah, I thought she was really good. The actress is Fiona Shaw, for those who don't know. And in this show, she's Andor's adopted mother. More like she just kind of kidnapped the child.
Yeah.
Where I was like, is this supposed to be endearing or
guy got colonized? Not really.
Someone say colonized.
It's tough to say.
I mean, like I said, mixed feelings is like, okay, like there is a chance that like, yeah, they probably would have died, but also like his family was like still alive and like.
Well, they didn't know that because they didn't know that anybody was on that planet.
Yeah, but like.
I'm not saying that like it was. Okay, you're actually bringing up one really cool thing that I do like about the show. There are no moral high grounds on this show, in my opinion. Like this show does not want to ask like, is this morally right? It's more about like,
right.
Everybody does things for the betterment of a possible better society or a better world. Even the people on the antagonist sides with the Empire, they are technically just doing this because they believe that what is going on is better for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody does in the show.
Right.
But they just have to do incredibly bad things to get where they're going. I don't know. I just like that a show is not, for the first time, isn't just all about, like, trying to tell you this is how you should do things. It's more like, if you want to get something done, you just got to try it, and whatever you have to do, you have to do. And I just really like that. Like, again, the main character point blank kills people.
Right.
And, like, Luthen has to, like, sacrifice 50 men for one person.
Right. But yeah, she just kind of, like, snatched that kid. She didn't have
I'm
a
not
right
condoning
She didn't
human
have a right to
trafficking.
snatch that kid.
I'm not
She's
saying...
like, oh, I saved him, and yeah, maybe she did, but she didn't have, like, a right to take that kid away from his family.
If that kid wasn't kidnapped, Luke would not have destroyed the Death Star.
He might have, still. Sis did not have the right to snatch that kid from his family. Point blank, okay? Like, maybe she saved him, maybe...
What if she was like, maybe he's just an only child, or, like, the only kid on this planet. She found out he had a sister. She was like...
Did she know about the sister?
Not at the point that she just was like, give me the drug. Oh, that actually kind of sounds creepy.
Yeah.
She just drugged the kid.
Yeah, she drugged him and snatched him.
Yeah.
Putting that aside...
Cool character.
Like I said, yeah, she might have saved him from death, but, like, that doesn't give her... That still doesn't mean she had the right to take him away.
I can't believe we're discussing the morals of kidnapping children.
I am discussing the morals of kidnapping children.
Star Wars.
Because...
Wait a minute. Are you a fan of Jedi?
Those children were surrendered willingly.
Are they?
Yes.
Are they, though?
Shut up, Max.
Are they?
Fuck off! Byron. Yeah, well, as far as I remember, I don't think they, drug the kids against their will and then just snatch them off their planet.
No, they just promised them a better life with like treats and lightsabers and all that.
And yes, it would have been a better life, but then Order 66 happened. So
yeah, look who ended up in a better situation. Let's just say that Star Wars isn't a good place to live.
Yeah, no.
It's not a very happy galaxy far away.
I mean, like, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. She could have saved his life, but like, she still snatched him. And,
I will
like,
say his adopted dad was basically like, "What are you doing?" Like,
I just feel like that was an interesting choice.
It was. I'm not gonna lie. In the moment, I was like, I get why she has to do it.
Did she have to though?
Because their logic was, the people, the Republic was gonna come down and just wipe everybody out.
Right.
Either way. And he would have died if he were to stay there.
Right.
So the possibility of taking this kid, who most likely, if they know about the people that still live on this planet, know that there's no adults. And if you looked on that little village that they had, no adults, all kids. Like, the oldest one was probably, like, 17 at most.
That doesn't change the fact that, like, she took him away from
I'm not
a family
saying it's right.
that he had.
I'm really just, like, trying to, like, defend. I don't agree with the idea. However, I understand why she did it. Again, going to the idea of, like, there are no morally good people.
Let me formulate something really quickly.
Oh, God.
Even if she did save his life, like, I don't know, it just, for me, it came across as kind of white saviory.
Oh, it definitely was.
So...
Notice how the black dad didn't do much. He was like, no, fuck that kid. Then he came around to be like, oh, you're cool.
Yeah, it was really white savior, so I was like, and then just the fact that, like, she, like, in later episodes, she was like, don't, like, go looking for your sister. I was like, dude, like, he had...
That was a moment
he
I was
had, like,
there's something up with
he
that.
had a family, and you, like, you're the one who took him away from that. Even
True.
if, like, you know, theoretically...
Gave him a quote-unquote better life.
Yeah, just because somebody's adopted doesn't guarantee...
Oh.
Shut up, this is not related. Okay, maybe it is a little bit. But...
I was like, why is she so defensive? But they're like, oh.
No, because the rhetoric that people hear all the time is, oh, like, you know, you were adopted, so like, you should be, like, grateful and stuff.
I'll say this. I don't think Cassian was grateful either way of this situation. Bro, I can't believe we ended up here.
And now we're talking about adoption rights.
And adoption trauma. I'm like, oh, I was not prepared for this, but alright. Hope you're all having a great time listening to this. I now see your point.
Okay.
Alright, I think I'll just let you win this argument.
Okay.
And that this show should
I have a lot more thoughts, but I don't know if they're going to come out coherent or not, so I'll just keep my mouth shut now.
I think you got your point across pretty well at the end there. You just had to say one thing, and I was like, oh. I guess we can just talk about themes in general. Well, like, yeah, this show is very, like, anti-fascist, anti-capitalist, anti, like, oppression in general, of, like, any kind. Anti-colonialism. Yeah, and I thought they're all very well done.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I know a lot of people says that, like, all the bullshit haters online is saying, like, Star Wars didn't be political. Well, I'm like, it's called Star Wars.
Yeah.
And Star Wars
has always been
political.
Very political.
Very political. Like, I feel like the show has done it the best, but I can see why people were afraid because, like, of recent, like, Star Wars stuff, it hasn't been either handled at all or well, in my opinion. But in this show, I think this is, again, it's done it the best.
It's done very, very well.
Very well. Like even in the Aldani arc, which is the arc where Cassian is told.
That man got voluntold.
Very much.
This man keeps getting voluntold.
Yeah, but he gets voluntold to basically be in this operation to do a heist on an Imperial garrison to steal the quarterly payroll for an entire sector, so that they can use that money to fund the rebellion, not the Republic. But that's gone.
That's been gone for how many years now? 13?
13. Yeah, this show takes 13 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 3 years after Obi-Wan, if you care.
I care.
Oh, we know. In that arc, when you hear about the Aldani people and, like, how they, quote-unquote, like, weeded them out.
Yeah.
It's scarily similar to, like, how we treated the Native Americans and, like, at first we just took over their land. And then even though they still had land, but we just kind of, like, slowly but surely figured out ways to, like, through, like, alcohol. And even in this show, like, they say, like, oh, we gave them, like, quote-unquote, better places to live. Going back to what you said earlier. And I was just like, oh, wow, like, shit, we are the Empire. I think, like, all those themes of, like, anti-everything really come to a head in the finale for me when they have that really a revolt/riot in the streets. And, like, I couldn't help but notice the parallels to just, like, of recent movements in the last couple of years about, like, Black Lives Matter movement or really just that because of just the scary parallels of, like, just these people wanting better lives and just these people in black uniforms and shields pressing them back.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, wow, that, like, it's not like blatantly said this is what we're trying to parallel. However, I couldn't help but think, like, oh, wow, this is a very striking image of, like, I know what they're going for and it's working. And yeah, I just really, the show just worked on so many levels for me. Did you, like, have a favorite moment we didn't talk about? There's so many.
See, this is the issue with watching one episode every week. You forget what happens, like.
Okay, so we had the Aldani arc, we had the prison arc.
Right, and then we had
the Revolt on Ferrix. And also the Ferrix first 3 episodes, which were all released at once.
Right.
I mean, we didn't really talk about the prison arc, which I will say that was like
It was very, very,
very well done.
right. Sorry, that's 9 of episode 8.
10 was the episode they escaped. 11 was the one where they're on the run, and then 12 was the finale.
Right, so that would have been 9 then.
Was it the
When Cassian asks like how many guards are on each level,
Oh!
and then
No more than 12.
yeah, more than 12.
That was a great moment. Because that entire episode, going back to how well the show is constructed, is so fucking tense. Because everybody's just being oppressed.
Yeah.
No one has
Yeah.
any, like, say on it. Like, everybody's got the empirical, like, thumb grinding down on them.
The realization that they have when they realize nobody's getting out. It's
Or
so good.
That old man dying made me
Yeah.
cry. And then Harry Potter's dad gives him the news. That's Harry Potter's dad.
Oh, I didn't
The
know
doctor's Harry Potter's
that.
dad.
I didn't know that.
There's 2 Harry Potter actors in this, yeah. There's probably more, but like, yeah. Also, speaking of actors that are in this, Andy Serkis is in the show,
Yeah.
which shocked the hell out of me because I love Andy Serkis.
Yeah, he's in. Oh my god, he's in so much that I like.
Well, he's so much, but you never get to see his face. Because he's Gollum, Caesar, Snoke.
Right,
He's
yeah.
been in Star Wars before, but it's
Yeah.
nice to see him be in like something good. Because he's been like a motion capture actor, he has so much control of his face. That, like, there's a moment where he has to like try to keep everybody calm because they're like they heard something.
Right, something happened down.
on floor 2
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I remember that part.
You like see his face, but the words he's saying are not equaling.
Right.
So he's like, he looks like he's panicking, freaking out, doesn't know
Yeah.
what to do, and he's just saying like, "Don't worry, everything's just gonna be just fine."
Yeah, and he's like internally just having like
He's
the
screaming.
biggest meltdown of his life.
He is, and like you see it in his face, and you're like, "Oh my god, he's so good." But yeah, the prison was so well set up. Also, what I really liked about this prison, just the way it harkens back to like other George Lucas stuff. Before George Lucas did Star Wars, he did this movie called like THX 113, which is another kind of like movie about oppression.
Oh, okay.
And like it's a very sterile white, like, and I mean like white walls
Right.
and everything, and people.
like that. I like the fact that you had to clarify.
Yeah, and like
We bullied him into this, yeah.
shut up. The way that world is set up is eerily similar to the way, or not similar, but like a nice homage to George Lucas. The show is not afraid to be Star Wars. It's just taken in a direction that no other thing has done before, which I
Right.
really like, and I think that going forward they need more shows like this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking forward to the Acolyte more because of this. That new show that takes place in the High Republic.
When does that coming out?
I don't know, but the cast looks good.
I'm excited for that.
I am too, because the showrunner for this, Tony Gilroy, he came in to fix Rogue One because Rogue One was having some like problems with the ending that the studio wasn't liking, so they brought him in to be like, fix this. And then when they were coming up with this Andor TV show, they had some stuff, and then they asked him again, "Hey, you want to come check this out?" And he's like, "This is all dog shit. I'll do it." But he's not really a Star Wars fan. He became a Star Wars fan by working on this because he grew to appreciate all the themes and stuff about it. But one of my favorite quotes is that from like the press behind this whole show is that when it came to like all the Easter eggs that you see in the background, that was just him saying like, "I just let the props
Department
guy
go wild."
just go wild and have fun."
Yeah.
Like, with that stuff, I really don't care. Or like
That was funny though.
like names of ships and stuff, he doesn't really care about. But like, I just found that like cool. Like, it's not so reliant on other things. Maybe Rogue One,
Right.
but not really, because you could just go into this, then watch Rogue One,
Right.
or wait until season 2, which is in 2
Yeah.
fucking years. The Acolyte also has a similar situation that the writer of that show isn't a huge Star Wars fan, so she's just doing. Hopefully, it's just a really good story in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
And that's all I want from now on. I'm kind of tired of like, because I feel like
Getting
as a
Order
fan-
66 for the 100th time.
Yeah, like I'm tired of being fan serviced. I kind of want to see something new. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't looking forward to the show at all. I was like, it's another Star Wars show. I'll check it out just to see how the rebellion is started for the fifth time.
Right.
Really, they're gonna make a show about the character that no one remembers from Rogue One?
Because he.
Well, yeah, he died, and like, so we know where he ends up. But
Yeah.
then again, Star Wars has always been like doing prequels,
Right.
so it's like
Prequels
we
to the
know how
prequels.
characters end up
Yeah.
in certain ways. So, but like after this show, I'm like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
I want more of this.
Now I'm personally kind of pissed that they didn't, like...
do Obi-Wan like this.
Yeah.
Me too. They took a character I really wanted to see return and kind of did something.
I did like... Right. But I also feel there was too much focus on, like, other characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Where it should have been, like...
Where I feel like this show had focused on other characters.
Right, but they did it well.
Yeah, and, like...
But at least they did it well.
Yeah, they did it well, and also...
Like, they made us care about, like the side plots.
And the main character. Like, he's, again, a passive character in this show.
Right.
But, like, Obi-Wan, you really can't do that because, again... Unless, well...
Reshoot the season.
No, you can't.
No, I know, but I mean, like, obviously, like, Kenobi was a great show, but, like, I'm also pissed that they did his show so dirty like that. After I'm seeing Andor.
I think everybody behind the show was really trying to make the best thing they could.
That's true.
However, they're trying to take a character that has such a clear point to where they need to go.
Right.
And they're trying to squeeze in this really impactful moment into, like, 2 points in his life.
Right.
That, like, when he fights Anakin on Mustafar and then when he fights Vader on the Death Star, and try to figure out one moment where you can kind of get both of that.
Right. I did like the fact, and then we're kind of like really off topic, but it's fine. I did like the fact that they addressed how, like, freaking traumatized this man was after.
That I liked.
I
wanted more of that.
So did I.
I feel like they.
And I've said this before, but his whole story, especially after, when you watch Revenge of the Sith, you know it's a tragedy. Like, you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I wish they had gone more into, like, that, because I think there's more they could have gotten out of that, except they went with
Reva.
Yeah.
Reva, Leia.
Yeah.
Again,
God, Leia was adorable. I loved her. And, like, all the actors were great. Some of the storylines didn't.
Yeah, we have not, again,
they tried to squeeze a ton into, like,
6 episodes.
6 episodes.
6 episodes
was not enough.
Like, it just didn't work for me, and, like, that kind of just was a real big bummer. Like, upon, like, reflecting on it. I mean, you can listen to a review. We had.
Yeah. I'm gonna rewatch the series, but, like.
Oh, I know you will.
But yeah, they just try to squeeze so many, like, different plot lines into, like, 6 episodes,
it's also
and
weird
especially about like new characters that we didn't really care that much about at all. Especially since most people were watching for Kenobi. And
and Vader.
And Vader. I mean,
and, like,
watching for the two of them, yes. And then they just threw in a bunch of other stuff, and they were like, we don't really care at this point. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, they're, like, nothing against the actors, obviously, but, like.
I mean, again, they had some really good moments. Like, I thought the 3rd episode of that show was probably the best. It, like, peaked at that point.
That was the one where.
He get crispy.
Yeah, that was good.
That was probably my favorite episode, and then I can really, like, give or take the last 3.
Right. I did, like.
And also, I think one complaint I had in that show that this show does so much better is that with that show, they use the volume
so much.
Too much. And it just kind of made everything look cheap.
The production quality is so different between the two.
I know, but, like, with
and
this
it's
show,
like, why couldn't we have that? They did that show dirty, I swear to God.
I think that
in certain aspects.
I think, like, The Mandalorian, like, is the only show of
that
these
does it well.
3 that uses the volume well. Most likely because they specifically made it for that show. Because the character is all shiny, so they can't do green screen.
Right.
So they had to come up with a clever way to get around it.
Right.
You don't have that excuse with the other 2 shows. But with this show, going back to Andor, I love that they just were like, fuck it, we're gonna build barracks. We're gonna go out into, like, the mountains of Scotland. I don't fucking know. The Highlands, and we're gonna go record out there. Like, everything felt big. It felt like
the fact that they actually built Narkina 5 was, like, really impressive.
Like,
those
prison. Yeah, it felt very
right. And the fact that, like, stations they were working at were, like, actually, like, pretty functional.
Yeah,
like insane.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. But yeah, the sets were so cool. Like, everything felt like I could go there. If I were to live on any planet, Ferrix has, like, a good community.
I would not want to live on Ferrix.
I know where you want to live, but, like...
Which is?
Coruscant.
Yeah. Or... Shut up. I mean, yeah, it is Coruscant, mostly because I want fancy
You
apartment.
want to live on fucking Tatooine? Hell no.
No.
Ferrix is 10 times better than Tatooine. At least you got water. I don't know. It's a lovely planet. People get up, do their job. It's a community.
Yeah,
If someone's in trouble, the community helps you out.
that's
And
fair.
also, fuck the Empire. Yeah, you haven't seen the show, and we probably ruined most of it. for
No,
you.
I know the plots because like I look it up online, or I'll just watch clips on YouTube.
Alright.
Or, like,
Well, what-
read.
You said you had some questions for us. I'm kind of curious. Like,
Yeah. So I was wondering how you guys felt because this is the only like con I have for it. But how did you feel about all the bricks and screws?
Are you shitting me?
I'm fucking with you. I'm fucking with you.
Oh, well, we can kind of talk about
But like
that.
that's such a stupid excuse
It's
to hate.
so dumb.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, disclaimer: I don't have anything against Star Wars theory. I think he's pretty cool. But I mean,
It's
come
kinda
on,
dumb.
like.
I don't like Star Wars theory anymore, and I don't want to cause YouTube drama, even though I have no fucking subscribers. However, like, I just think like a lot of his excuses are just because he doesn't like Disney Star Wars, and he's like complaining about like it's not what I want. The whole bricks and screws thing I thought was just like a really dumb comment because I'm like, bro, how else is shit gonna get built here? Like, I'm pretty sure like Luke's house is made out of some kind of brick.
Yeah.
Sandstone, maybe?
Mhm.
I don't know.
I mean, the Jawa crawlers, they're just using treads like on a
Yeah.
half track or a tank.
Fucking, I'm pretty sure R2D2 has like a screwdriver in that little like thing that pops out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, he's like a rolling Swiss Army knife.
No, what about when Anakin was building C-3PO? Wasn't
Yeah.
he taking
Yeah.
out something that was a screwdriver?
It's
Not to
just-
mention Anakin's friggin' arm, bruh.
So,
Yeah.
don't they literally have
Yeah.
a moment in one of the movies where he's just like screwing it tight? I don't know what
Skywalker's too. Where it's just like robotics that you would
Yeah.
see now.
Yeah.
It's just, again, I just.
It's
think
just the
he's-
weakest excuse, and it's just picking a fight to like pick a fight.
Do you have any other questions besides the bricks and screws?
Yeah. Let me think. Actually,
Okay.
we already hit up like the colonialism stuff. Like,
Oh, we did.
yeah.
In more ways than one than I thought.
I don't know. Can you see like what other, I guess, modern day parallels? Like, can you see besides like the rioting? Is there anything else like?
Well,
with,
in
like-
the first episode, there was like a real, like, kind of going into like, both the actor being Mexican and Hispanic Mexican. The first time we really see him, when he kills those two guys, they instigate him by asking for his papers, and they
Oh.
also ask like, "Did you swim over here?" Because he was in the rain, he's all wet. They're really kind of like fucking with him, but like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, like, ooh, buddy, like, it in the world, they're just making fun of him because it's like it's raining and everything like that, and also papers and the idea of like Nazis. Like, wait, where are your papers? It's more like, but when it's like a Hispanic person, it's like, ooh, don't.
Yeah,
That's
well,
kind of fucked up. I did. Now this is just me reading into it because like I recently kind of did like a weird deep dive into the event. There's the kid in the last episode who has a bomb, and he throws it at the Imperials, and it leads to like a bigger explosion than he thought. I couldn't help but realize that it just reminded me a little bit too much of like the Boston Marathon massacre, in just how the way they were setting it up,
Yeah.
and that it was very much it was a pipe.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like a pipe bomb almost, and the way it just reminded me too much of like the guys who did it. I forgot the name of the brothers, but like
they had that
they had a particular look that the kid
also.
had a look. I
Yeah.
don't know the actor's name. I'm sorry. I don't know what particular ethnicity he is, but it just the curly hair made it look like one of the bombers.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think of it. But that's just me, and you can totally come at me for that, and like I'll take the L if I'm wrong about that, and that's just me looking into it. But I just couldn't help but realize, because of just all the elements that led up to that moment, I was like, I don't know how I feel about them kind of touching on that, because like bombs have always been in Star Wars, like there's grenades and stuff, but when you like make like something that looks like a pipe bomb, like this idea of like they're using this to revolt against like literally their policing state.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice it. I don't know. Like, I'm just curious what other people thought, just because I thought that the show it's very layered and like
an onion.
Like an onion? Is that what?
I'm going to hell.
No, you're not. That's just a Shrek joke. I just won't
I'm tired.
Get Shrek'd. But like.
Shrek
Well, I was
is low.
gonna say,
Oh,
you
go on.
said that character made the bomb and then the explosion was bigger than he thought it would be.
Well,
Let me show
what happened is that in the show he throws the bomb, it tips over like an Imperial like transport vehicle with a big gun on the back of
hover
it.
tanks.
Yeah, well, everything hovers in Star
Oh,
Wars.
yeah.
Well, most things hover. But what happens is it gets tipped over, and then when it tips over, a bunch of grenades that were just left in a bin just kind of go off, and it leads to more damage than the kid thought would happen. So I was like, huh. I don't know. But, like, the kid, it's hard to say because you never hear the kid what his intentions was, because the Empire kidnapped his dad, interrogated him, and then hung him in the street. Apparently that's a thing that they do. I mean, they introduced the idea in Kenobi that, like, the Inquisitors will just hang people. Andor's dad was hung by clone troopers.
Yeah. No, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It's just the way you said Andor's dad was hung.
Oh my god.
Okay, but like, I get what you're saying.
I don't know. I just really, really, really like the show. And I want to see Star Wars do more risks like this. Even though, like, apparently the show is, like, the lowest viewed Star Wars show. I think the reason why is just because this isn't a show for families. It's really for, like, young adults to adults.
Yeah.
Like, kids will not understand any of these things. They will probably find the pacing really boring and slow. Yeah, we're going to wrap this up. Bottom line, great show. Please watch it. Give it the attention it deserves. If you have a Disney Plus account, watch it. I know it's going to be coming to TNT. So,
Really?
yeah, because it didn't do well on Disney Plus, that they're trying to get as many people to watch it. So they're like,
That's so sad because it's such a good show.
I know. I think it's also because it's more like an HBO show than it is anything else on Disney.
Right. Dropping Tales of the Jedi did not help either,
No.
unfortunately.
If you're listening to this on my YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and share. Subscribe to our Spotify. If you like our content, please go to our social media and follow us on there, on Instagram at $1 Million Media. If you're listening to this on Wave Radio, please check out all the other shows we have. We have a lot of really cool shows coming up in the next year. Probably going to be releasing this sometime this week around December. But yeah, I had a great time.
Well, thank you all for listening, and it's been great being like here again on Max's podcast.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
Yan, and
I'm Maya.
And I hope you all have a good day. She hit me.
I'll do it again.
Oh!